lots of uhs and
Yeah.
you know. Yep.
um,
Um,
this is
yeah,
crazy. I haven't done this from the phone yet.
I know. We're live now, man. Hey,
Yeah, we're
our
live. We're going.
our wide audience is hearing our
Okay.
banter. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Am I on YouTube still? I'm trying to figure out. Doing this on the phone is a new struggle.
yeah, yeah. It's amazing
Okay, we're
technology
live.
these days. Yeah, we're live.
And we're live.
All right. So after a many month hiatus, we are back with Movie Mood.
That's
Hi.
right.
Yeah, and
We're back, baby.
we're back. We're back and ready to go. We're talking about a big topic today. And what is that topic, Alex?
We're talking the Japanese film director Akira Kurosawa,
Right.
who is one of my favorites, and yeah, and he's one of the most renowned international filmmakers from the 20th century, and he's super important
Yeah.
to a lot of movie. Probably if you don't know about him, probably a director you should know about for films that you probably enjoy or probably hear about.
Right. I think one of the things that we'll talk about today is his influence and how that has impacted movies as we know them today.
For sure. And
Yeah.
I'm a big Kurosawa head, and this has kind of been, I don't know if you were watching a lot of Kurosawa beforehand, but I'd be interested to hear your take on him.
Yeah, no, I love Kurosawa. I had seen all the, the quote unquote big ones,
Yeah.
your Rashomons, your Seven Samurais,
Hmm.
things of that nature. And when you watch them, it's really easy to kind of see the themes and the styles that he puts in his movies in movies that are still being made today, I should say.
Mm,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can see Seven Samurai and Bug's Life.
Yep.
Rashomon with any of the like point of view switching movies, such as like a Christopher Nolan film or something else. And you can see his style also within Star Wars with
Yeah.
uh, Hidden Fortress, and also I think something can be said about George Lucas and some of the '70s filmmakers style.
Right. Yeah. I watched a YouTube clip of on Kurosawa's 100th birthday recently, and
Yeah,
it was those filmmakers that really came to prominence in the late 60s, early 70s. Your Spielberg, Scorsese's, Lucas's, even Oliver Stone. Talking
yeah,
about how Kurosawa was just a giant for them.
definitely.
And he was the master that was their biggest influence.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to unpack about Kurosawa. But if somebody was going to start watching Kurosawa, what would you recommend they start with?
So I would actually recommend Rashomon. I think a lot of people
Mm,
would say Seven Samurai, but for me it's Rashomon because Seven Samurai is a pretty significant investment of time. I mean, it's a joy to watch. Don't get me wrong.
yes,
It's
yeah,
it's a masterpiece. It's incredible. It's one of those very long movies that I frequently revisit.
mm,
But if you're trying to get a feel for a movie that's kind of like how a movie's made today, check out
mm,
Rashomon. Um,
yeah,
and you'll get that. It's really kind of the first movie that presented things from a different point of view, which is really kind of cool.
yeah. It definitely feels. It still feels like a modern movie today. I
Yeah.
think it doesn't age, or at least for me, it doesn't feel like it's dated at all. Some of his movies, if you watch them, you can feel like okay, it's not like it hasn't aged as well. It hasn't uh you know I'm thinking about his last movie, Manda Deo. I didn't really connect. I didn't feel like I could connect to it too super well, but something like Rashomon or Ron or Seven Samurai, those are like, yeah, touchstones.
Yeah. I actually recently I watched a movie for the first time that I'm embarrassed to admit I watched for the first time, and that was Memento.
Oh
And
yeah,
yeah, yeah, I got
yeah,
mad Rashomon vibes from.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Memento, and I'm reading a book about going back to Christopher Nolan a little bit, and yeah, he's for sure with the point of view and the how he messes with time. You know, thinking even about like Dunkirk.
Mhm.
Dunkirk is very Rashomon esque,
Yeah.
about point of view and time, and it's interesting. And I think a lot of people were um, from what I've heard about Rashomon, I think a lot of people were taken aback by it, especially in Japan. Like they didn't really understand what, like how it worked and what was going on because it's so radical the way like things are done with that in literature a lot. Like it's not people don't usually think like film can have a like an unreliable narrator as
Mhm.
much as literature because you're like, oh, you're filming it, it's right in front of you. They don't think like they're being fooled by the camera or they're being fooled by whatever the um, character's intent is or the director what the director's showing you. But in Rashomon, you're constantly being tricked, and you're being shown that you're being tricked in a way.
Right. Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great point. Because if you think about Kurosawa's filmography, and Rashomon is early in his filmography,
Mm.
he really his filmography spanned some of the most influential and formative years of film. I mean,
Yeah.
I
True.
mean, from going in, I think it was the late '40s when he really came into prominence. Like, prior to that, you had all sorts of things, but I think for a lot of people, what when they think about modern cinema, it's really kind of those '50s, '60s onwards. Uh,
Mm.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
Post World War II sort
yeah,
of stuff.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and he made so many movies, like so many. What was it, like 39 or something? And not, small movies. They're big,
No,
epic.
they're huge. They're huge.
Yeah, three
And
hour plus.
yeah,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, I was watching an interview with him recently, and I think one of the things that stuck out to me was someone asked him, what do you have to do if you want to be a great director?
I saw that,
And
yeah.
yeah, and he said write screenplays, right?
Yeah, write screenplays and read, which is what, like a lot of filmmakers say, like Herzog says that. And, yeah, and it's interesting, like some filmmakers you feel like they're more based around like literature or doing the research, and then other filmmakers you have like Martin Scorsese, who's like just watches like hundreds of movies every year. And I mean both is it's kind of the same thing, it's just like studying and practicing, it
Yeah,
seems like.
yeah,
Yeah.
and taking your influence, and while Kurosawa has certainly influenced a lot of today's modern filmmakers, he was certainly influenced by writers of the past, filmmakers of the past as
Hmm.
well. So
For sure. There's an interesting thing I saw about him on the Criterion channel. I was going through some of the ones I'd overlooked, some of the ones I hadn't seen. Some I really like, some I wasn't really into. But he was certainly influenced by American cinema, and a lot of people that time period in Japanese cinema is super interesting, like the 50s into the 60s, because and not a lot of people think about it when they watch it, but they're heavily influenced. Even the very Japanese filmmakers are heavily influenced by American cinema,
mm,
because like almost they had no choice. Like they were being they were censored by American like the American military, basically. So like they were like, you can't do this super pro Japanese thing, you can't do this thing, but you can do like talking about like freedom and liberty and you can talk about da da da. So it's interesting, like Kurosawa's formative years were when he was basically being censored.
Mm.
So a lot of people are like, oh, he was like a super American Japanese filmmaker. It's like yes and no, but also he was kind of like had to do that. And there's like something about like whenever there's something that's from the West, like I think in Seven Samurai, there's like a samurai with a gun. Like that's always seen as like a bad thing. And it's a very mixed bag because
Mm.
like obviously it's very like he seems to, use the American influence well, but also it's like a mixed, it's a mixed thing. So but he's certainly like one of the more accessible filmmakers of that time. And it was like one of the best times I think for film in Japan at that time, like the 50s and 60s,
Mm-hmm.
because you've got Ozu's doing his best stuff, Mizuguchi, Kobayashi, movies like Harakiri. I'm blanking. There's so many, and yeah, just a lot of good stuff. And he's definitely one of the the top
Yeah.
few.
Yeah. So for you, where would you recommend someone start with him?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's between Rashomon and Seven Samurai. For me, I feel like because Rashomon, yeah, it's got to be between the two. Seven Samurai is a little bit less like about point of view. I feel like it's more almost like a social issue movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Kurosawa is really good. His movies are always about social issues, even if they're not like they don't seem obvious. He was very much like a political filmmaker, but it's not always like in front of your face. Sometimes it is, but usually it's not. And I think that movie is really amazing with how it does, like how it has these multiple characters. And yeah, and one of the things I really love about Kurosawa is how he not only how he like writes, but how he orchestrates like big scenes, like big action scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's his like one of his biggest strengths is like the action scenes instead of Samurai, and certainly the scenes in Ron, which are like mind blowing. Hey, kitty.
Hey, cat.
But probably Seven Samurai. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's the big one.
Yeah, and I think about Seven Samurai's influence in other films, and obviously there's the thematic elements that you see in movies like The Magnificent Seven and A Bug's Life and everything like that. But I also think about like the way that he shot the film, and I think about the transitions that he used in Seven Samurai.
Oh yeah, the wipes.
And the wipes. Yeah, but I'm like, oh, those are in Star Wars all the time.
Yeah, they don't feel the wipes. There was another movie that used wipes that I saw recently, which was like a social issue Western, Bacurau from Brazil. And the way they used the wipes was like, it didn't feel like gimmicky. It felt like a Kurosawa type thing. And that was like, I liked that. It was cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And yeah, the way he shoots is really cool. Like I don't think Saving Private Ryan would be what it is without Kurosawa. Like the first scene and the last battle scenes.
Right. Yeah, I've only seen a 5 or 6 Kurosawa movies, but I think about those battle scenes in for sure. They are epic. They influenced Saving Private Ryan. I think about I'm rereading Lord of the Rings right now, so I'm also rewatching Lord of the Rings right now.
For sure.
Yeah, I see it there as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
He definitely carries over like the big epic action scenes, almost like they're almost like action from like a silent film. They just feel like really big, and you're like, wow, is it like 100 or 200 extras in this movie, like people just running by the camera?
Mhm.
And it definitely feels like real. Like you can feel the weight of everything, of all the whatever weapons or like the horses going by, the rain and Seven Samurai. And a lot of that you can see in Saving Private Ryan or Apocalypse Now or yeah, Star
Mhm.
Wars.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I think for a lot of people, when Kurosawa comes to mind, they think of samurai films, right?
Mm.
You've got Seven Samurai, you've got Ron, you've got things of that nature.
Throne of
But
Blood.
Throne of Blood for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but what about his movies that take place in modern times,
Mm.
and do any of the themes transcend?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I really love his, of course, his crime capers, then also his more like existential dramas like Akiru. And certainly they do uh they are still a part of that. He's always talking about like social issues like capitalism and the poor, and talking about people's struggles. And I think it has to do a lot with um like his love of Russian literature, because there's a
Hmm.
lot of, you know, he's taken a lot from Dostoevsky and Tolstoy, and certainly in Tolstoy there's some big action scenes too, technically in writing. Um, and yeah, I think Akiru is one that definitely stands out for me. Not my favorite to watch, but I really, appreciate it for what it does. And it's really a very existential film. And so is The Idiot also, which was kind of a surprise for me because I watched it recently, and it's usually a movie that people crap on because it's very long and it's very like much like a drama. It's based on also a very long Dostoevsky novel, but it's
Right.
it has some really interesting, like almost gothic things that happen. And halfway through, it's really engaging with what it does. And it's very like cold and almost like a horror movie a little bit. But yeah, certainly with his present day stuff, he was very um, are really good. Also, High and Low, Stray
Hmm.
Dog, his like noir movies, Drunken Angel. Um, yeah, the list goes on. He made a lot. He made a
Yeah.
lot of good flicks.
Hmm. Great flicks.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. The you can make a whole streaming service based on
yeah, just his
some movies.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, to see. Well, I started watching a lot of his sort of in between movies, not his like big stuff, and it's interesting to see like the progress of like Japanese history, kind of, because his early movies were made in like fascist Japan, and
Hmm.
then he kind of has to switch it, and so like his early movies are like these very like these Japanese movies where he's like beating up like basically Americans, but they're probably Russians, like or something, that are playing Americans. And then it switches into like he makes these almost like these socialist movies that have that start to become more and more Americanized. And um, yeah, like there's one movie in particular um, with Setsuko Hara that is very, very socialist, and it just feels like he made that after the string of these like almost fascist propaganda movies, and so very like it's a big change. And that's a good one. I'm blanking on that name though. There's so many. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there are so many. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think one of the themes that I notice in his movies is just like a group of people coming together for a cause. Um,
Yeah.
you know, and I find that while at times his movies can be a little bleak, um,
A little bit.
in
Yeah. Ron is
a little bleak.
just a little bleak.
Yeah, they always kind of end on a hopeful note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually. Yeah.
Yeah. With I think of Rashomon in particular with that and Seven Samurai, but
Hmm.
I also think of movies like High and Low,
Yeah.
like this this man did sacrifice everything, but he did it for a noble cause,
Yeah.
and it's good stuff. And I like seeing how, the team comes together to solve the caper. It's
Yeah, it's I find, well, I feel like his like mid his the big films from the 50s and 60s are, they definitely have very bittersweet endings, because Rashomon, it's like, wow, the humans are basically all liars, but it's okay. Like and then
there's
Seven
hope in the
Samurai.
future generations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And then Seven Samurai, like they win the battle, but it's not the samurai that win, it's the people. But
It's
it's
the
very like,
farmers.
yeah, yeah, but it's very like bittersweet, because like the samurai have like nothing now,
Yeah.
and like most of them died, and so it's a mixed bag for sure.
Mhm.
And then Ron is like the most bleak movie
That
ever.
is a Ron is a
It's just
brutal.
it's just bleak.
It is. It's heavily influenced by Shakespeare.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. A lot of his stuff is, yeah, influenced not only by Russian literature, but Western literature, also Shakespeare,
yeah.
John
Um,
Ford movies.
yep. Um,
Let's talk about Ron.
yeah. Let's talk about Ron, because Ron
So
is
cool, so
beautiful
cool.
and beautiful and bleak and draining
Yeah,
and energizing,
yeah.
all at
All
once.
at once. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a full body high.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you watched it pretty recently.
I
What
did.
were your, yeah, what were your big takeaways from it?
So my big takeaways were really the majority of Kurosawa's movies are in black and white.
Hmm.
Um, even some of his more recent movies, like that were made in the '60s when most movies were in color, they were still largely
Yeah.
black and white. Um, but but Ron is in color, and I would love to see him do more with I would have loved to have seen him do more with that throughout his filmography, because
For sure.
it's like the first thing I thought of when I watched it was like, I was like, every scene feels like a painting. It felt a lot like Barry Lyndon, actually, in that regard.
Yeah.
Like just his use of color was incredible to me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly in like Seven Samurai, the black and white is, it's very lush, but you feel like, especially with all the like the flower scenes, or like in the jungles, you're like, man, this would be great in color. But I really do like the black and white also. I think it looks really great. But Ron and like his later films like Dreams, Kagamusha, um, some of his other stuff, Metadeo, even the color is very vibrant and beautiful. Yeah. I love Ron. I'm a big fan of Ron.
Mhm.
I saw it, got to see it in theaters in 4K when it has re-release, which was awesome. And um, yeah, it's, I think the thing that blows my mind about it is that there's very little CGI in it, and you can just see, you're like, oh, that castle is on fire. Or there's like hundreds of you know extras running by, and it is a very epic film. It's very big
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah.
Um, and I have a theory about it, because a lot of people, um, and you may kind of agree with this. It's A lot of people find it, especially his later films, a little slower than his like films when he was younger. Like when he was in the, was in the 50s and 60s. There are all these, more close-ups, more of these like crazy looking shots, and the camera's moving around a lot more. But in Ron, it's very like far away and shot with like a telephoto lens, and it's a little slower. And a lot of people, I had a professor who basically, I was talking to him, and he was like, he didn't like Ron. He thought it was like not as good as his older stuff. He thought the Kurosawa had like lost, the touch or whatever. He lost his gift. But my theory is that, because I was thinking about it, and I was like, why are there longer takes? And I think it's because there's this one Russian filmmaker, Tarkovsky, that he basically befriended, and Tarkovsky had a lot of really long shots. And it's my theory that they were homies, and so he was like trying to do that with his movies. It was intentional. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure it was intentional. Yeah. The man was a genius, and he put, so much thought into everything that he put to screen. So yeah, I'm sure it was intentional, and I actually really liked the pace of Ron. I'm a sucker for those, sprawling shots and those long takes that I just get to really see everything come to work in. So
yeah. And it's beautiful, like the mountains are always in the background, and like the grass, and
it's so beautiful.
Yeah. I like his Shakespeare adaptations because they're not totally, obviously they're not totally, faithful to the text. They're samurais. The daughters, I think they're daughters in King Lear. They're, other samurai chieftains, and Ron. I really like his adaptations, especially Throne of Blood also.
Yeah, so what is so I haven't seen Throne of Blood. So what Shakespearean work is that adapted from? And
that's from Macbeth.
Macbeth, okay. Yeah. And what makes Throne of Blood stand out to you?
Throne of Blood stands out because it's another one of those ones where you feel like he's going into the horror movie. He's going into like the gothic a little bit, and it really adapts it really well. And I was reading one critic recently who was talking about Throne of Blood being like, it's Macbeth, but it's like about a dictator, basically, because of how political Kurosawa can be, and it's about like the downfall of a dictator, basically. And it's just really good, and there's some really cool scenes that are really spooky with Toshiro Mifune. And I don't know, I feel like it's shorter. It's like more like, I might be wrong, but I feel like it's one of his shorter films. But it's really good. Worth checking out. There's like some cool arrow shooting scenes where all these arrows come at Toshiro Mifune, and it's badass.
It's rad.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, samurais are awesome. You gotta love samurai movies.
Yeah, for sure.
And what are your thoughts about because I think one thing we haven't talked about Kurosawa is Toshiro Mifune.
Oh my gosh.
I think he's the big, I mean, that's part of the reason why we watch them.
Yeah, I think so. I think like Robert De Niro is to Scorsese, or
Kyle MacLachlan to
Tony
David
Leung
Lynch
is to Wong Kar-wai.
Yeah.
You've got Mifune in Kurosawa films, and he brings such an energy all the time.
Oh yeah.
Whether he's a young man, whether he's an aging man later on in the filmography, he has such a presence. Yeah,
and he's definitely like, I feel like he's kind of an overactor, but for some reason it works.
It does work. It absolutely
works every time. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's so big in Seven Samurai, But I do feel like he had a lot of range. Like when he was playing an older person, he was really good with that. And there are other movies with other directors where you could see like he definitely had the chops. Yeah, and High and Low, he's very reserved.
Right.
And but yeah, talk about one of the best actors, best Japanese actors ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like the quintessential samurai actor.
Yeah. And but like, believe it or not, my favorite performance from him, I think, actually came in High and Low.
Yeah.
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 Out of the
For
ones
sure.
that I watched.
Mm.
Which is such a different role from his roles in, he's like a wild man in Seven
Yeah.
Samurai, you know.
And in Rashomon. Yeah.
Yeah, yep, in both. And he's
Mhm.
so he's very, he's like in High and Low, he's like, you know, someone whose presence is noted. He's like someone
Yeah,
you
he's
meet
like
with.
kind of a bureaucrat. He's like yeah, I can't remember what his job is, but he's
He
definitely like well
was,
off.
yeah, he's well off. He is the he's one of the directors of a shoe company,
Right.
and he is and he has some enemies within the company who are trying to oust him, but
Mm.
he's he has bought up a lot of the shares, so he's staying in there, which is really not what the movie's about at all, but
Yeah,
it's
kind of like a side note
yeah,
part of it.
it's yeah. But he's, man, he would be a great CEO of a company for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
He plays like a CEO type in The Bad Sleep Well too, which is definitely one worth watching. It's almost like like Hamlet in the corporate world,
Uh-huh.
and it's pretty good. It's not my favorite, but it's interesting, and he's very similar in that one too.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and in Redbeard, he started to be play older characters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever see any of the like Drunken Angel or Stray Dog or anything like that?
Mm-mm. I saw,
Yeah.
let's see, I saw Hidden Fortress,
Yeah.
and I saw Ron and Seven
And
Samurai.
you weren't crazy about Hidden Fortress.
I wasn't.
Mm.
Like, I loved all of the other ones that I watched, but Hidden Fortress didn't really speak to me.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Mm.
That's just a personal preference. I know
Mm.
there are movies that speak to some people that I can appreciate the production values in, that just don't
Yeah.
resonate. Um,
Mm.
so, and that's just
I
one of them for me.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't like it the first time I watched it, and then I watched it again recently, and I really liked it. I don't know why. I don't know what the difference was, but um, yeah. And plus, you've got all its everything that New Hope took from it with the servants that are like
Oh
the
yeah,
C-3PO and R2-D2 and the
yeah,
princess, and yeah.
I know. But I had, I feel like I had read an article that said like Star Wars: A New Hope is like a blatant remake of Hidden Fortress, if you will. But that's
Yeah,
not really the case. I
I
think
don't think
that,
so either.
no,
No.
I think George Lucas certainly took a lot of ideas, particularly with the servants and C-3PO and R2-D2, and kind of presenting this epic adventure from their perspective.
Yeah.
But but to tell the truth, like when I watch a movie like Star Wars, I pick up more Seven Samurai vibes from it than Hidden Fortress vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially with George Lucas in general and Coppola too. I feel like the use of like long lenses is really comes from Kurosawa, like especially The Godfather and everything by George Lucas. Whenever there's a shot that's like far away but it's like zoomed in, it always I feel like looks like Kurosawa or is Kurosawa influenced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that kind of sums up our Kurosawa talk. He's
Yeah.
definitely a filmmaker to check out. I would also recommend the PlayStation 4 game Ghost of Tsushima, which is almost a Kurosawa video game, almost.
Nice. Well, I am.
Yeah.
I'm trying to play more video games because I'm
You don't need to play more video games.
trying to play more video games. So yeah, thanks for the recommendation.
Yeah, check. Yeah, that one is dope. I love that one.
Great, love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can even change in the video game. You can change it to Kurosawa mode, and it puts it in black and white for you.
What?
Yeah,
That's cool.
mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
It's awesome. It's a deep cut from Ghost of Tsushima.
Speaking of black and white, did you know that they made a black and white version of Mad Max Fury Road?
What?
Yeah.
Huh. Why?
I don't know, but it's called
That's weird.
it's called the Black and Chrome edition. It's
Oh,
yeah.
Sounds like a gimmick.
What? Well, it
Little
was kind of pretty.
Oh, it was? Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
it's kind of pretty. Yeah.
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 That sounds cool. Huh. Yeah, did you watch it?
I watched a few minutes of it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. There's like that one part where it kind of goes into black and white. I remember when they're like in the tornado.
Yeah, we're in
thing.
that sandstorm and
Yeah.
yeah.
I love Mad Max. Did you watch Road Warrior?
So I watched sorry listening audience. We're doing a segue here and we're doing a great job with it.
To the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so I watched Mad Max, I watched The Road Warrior, and I watched Fury Road. Yeah.
Nice.
And speaking of movies, here's the transition that
All right.
that I can appreciate the production value of and the artistry of, along the lines of Hidden Fortress, but they're just not for me. That's Mad Max.
Why? Is there a specific reason? I'm interested to know.
So I think that Mad Max Fury Road was the first Mad Max movie I saw back in 2015. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, the movie is cool. Like I appreciate the practical effects. I appreciate the absurd nature of it, and the those kind of pretty cool stunts, and then the feminist and environmentalist themes, which are pretty strong in there, but it's all just kind of goofy.
It's not serious.
It's all kind of goofy.
It is goofy.
Like
they're very silly.
And in regards to plot, it's pretty limited. But
Mad Max meets a group of people, survivors. He works with the survivors. He learns what their deal is. And then they escape and blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
I will say I did like the Road Warrior and Fury Road much better than the original Mad Max.
Oh yeah,
he was way
too
clean cut in the original Mad Max.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of a mess, the first one, and then Road Warrior, I think it kind of figures itself out.
Yeah,
what it's gonna be. But yeah, that's interesting. Well, I mean, everybody's got different tastes, different things that they like, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah. Cinemas are basically back now, to business, which is awesome.
That's true, and I'm happy.
Me too, man.
Yeah.
What do you think about this trend of actors and directors thanking people for coming to the movie theater?
I want it more.
Me too.
I want it every time I go see a movie. It made me feel I saw that to tell the truth, the only movie I've seen in theaters since Tenet still is A Quiet Place Part 2. Like I watched In the Heights on HBO Max. I wanted to watch it in theaters, but I couldn't find a screen time that suited my incredibly busy schedule.
True.
But yeah. So John Krasinski made a kind of a thank you to the audience before A Quiet Place Part Two, and then I enjoyed the movie greatly. So it was an all around good experience.
Hey, I'm John Krasinski.
I went to Brown.
Yeah, I went to Brown. I'm
Hey,
basically a
deadly
good.
blunt.
I'm basically a good guy.
Yeah,
I'm a good guy. I'm a stand-up guy.
yeah.
I'm
Great.
very likable. My name is John Krasinski,
You can watch me on Amazon Prime's Jack Ryan,
and on The Office.
and in this movie here, A Quiet Place Part Two.
I liked A Quiet Place Part Two a lot. It was fun. It felt like the first one because I went to go see a few movies in theaters pretty recently. I've been just like going to a lot more. In the Heights, Godzilla versus Kong. Saw some stuff at the Bird Theater here in Richmond.
Nice.
Minari. And that felt like the one that was, I don't know, just felt the most cinematic because the theater was full and it was full
That's
of people,
cool.
and everyone was like, like quiet during the quiet moments, and everyone was like into it. And yeah, that was a good experience. I felt like that was really fun.
Nice.
It was a good movie. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
Yeah, up here, movie theaters are actually in Baltimore. I don't think movie theaters are open yet. I think they open on
Oh,
July
really?
1st. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I've been going to like Towson or Columbia to watch movies, but
Okay.
they're open to like half capacity. So I remember I was trying to get a ticket for A Quiet Place Part Two, and I was like, oh, no one's gonna go see a movie right now, but they were all sold out. So
Yeah.
yep.
People are missing it. Want to go back?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that is a very hopeful thing for me because I do like, the convenience of streaming, but there's nothing like going to see a movie in theaters.
I know. I feel like it is a different experience because you're going out and you have to meet up with people and you have to, you're with all these strangers in a room, and yeah, I think it is like a different experience, and I think it makes it better, at least for me, to watch like something like The Irishman with other people because it's like a 3-hour thing, and if you're at home, you're going to be on your phone, you're going to be doing other stuff, so but yeah, with theaters, you don't have distractions, and I don't know. I wouldn't say it's like better, but it's just like a different experience.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I actually went to a movie and I ended up being the only person in the theater.
Nice. I had that happen too.
Yeah,
recently.
it was a Martin Scorsese movie that I don't think I would have been able to watch on my own, not in a theater.
Oh yeah.
Called Silence back in 2016, 2017, and yeah, I think sometimes, and it's an incredible movie.
Definitely.
It's an incredible movie.
Staggering.
Yeah. Kind of like Ron. It's draining and
bleak,
energizing and bleak, and all at the same time. And
it's a heavy hitter.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think I would have been able to watch that, just on my phone.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah.
No. And I'm pretty sure, I went to go see that, and there might have been 2 people, and then halfway through, and the samurais are beating up Andrew Garfield, I think somebody might have left. A few people walked out. But yeah, that was definitely one, like, that was all the Scorsese movies I feel like are made to be seen in a theater. Probably other movies are probably just as good watching it on the TV, but Scorsese, you gotta go out for.
I think so too. I've always described him as one of those kind of event filmmakers where, like, when you find out a Scorsese movie's being made, you're going to go out of your way to watch it. And I wish I had the opportunity to see The Irishman in theaters, because I think I would have had a very different experience with it.
Yeah, it was also cool to, like, to laugh with other people over Al Pacino, being a goofball.
Yep.
What else? Are there any, like, any particular movies you've been watching, or anything of interesting you've been into lately, or Anything you like to talk about?
Let's see. What have I been watching lately? What is on my spreadsheet of things that I watch?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been watching. So I mentioned I was kind of rereading and rewatching The Lord of the Rings. Golly, those movies are 20 years old and they're that is an incredible production. Like,
Definitely, for
holy
sure.
smokes, dude.
Yeah,
We should talk about Lord of the Rings sometime.
I'm
And
so down.
yeah,
I'm in for a rewatch
I
for LOTR.
yeah, I got a box set of the books, and it came with The Hobbit. So I donated The Hobbit to Goodwill, and
And through the Hobbit in the streets of Baltimore, through in the harbor.
Yeah, hate that book.
I actually have a lot of I love The Hobbit a lot. I do not love those movies at all in any bit, but The Hobbit was like one of the first books that like I feel like I wasn't into reading when I was a kid. I just watched movies, and then I read The Hobbit, and I was like, oh, like that got me. And then I read
Yeah,
Lord of the Rings, and watched the movies, and yeah, got
yeah.
sucked into that. And then I was like, I want to be J.R.R. Tolkien. I want to be Peter Jackson.
Did you know that he
I want to be
copyrighted
Frodo.
the Tolkien Foundation has copyrighted the Tolkien name? So like, yeah,
Weird. So
know.
you can
I don't
can't
know.
rename yourself Tolkien.
I don't know how that works. Like,
Yeah,
but
that's weird.
yeah.
I heard something about. I heard that he was a very stingy professor at I think it was Oxford.
Yeah,
or Cambridge. I think it was Oxford.
I think it was Oxford. Yeah.
Yeah. He was a big linguist.
Mm-hmm.
Linguist guy.
Did you watch the movie about him that had I think Nicholas Hoult in it, or neither did I?
No. Don't need to. It's like, cool.
Yeah.
He was in World War One. Cool.
But yeah, let's see, what else am I watching?
What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite of the Lord of the Rings?
Movie, book, what?
For like Fellowship of the Ring or Two Towers or Return of the Jedi.
Return of the King.
Return of the Jedi. It's too early, man. I need more coffee.
Yeah, more coffee. No, I'm big on Two Towers.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. When I was a kid, Fellowship was my favorite. Just because going back to Seven Samurai, I like seeing people come together for a cause. But
mission.
Yep. I think Two Towers is kind of where Peter Jackson as a filmmaker peaked, without because Lord of the Rings, because Return of the King, excuse me, is awesome.
Yeah,
but it's a lot denser than the other two. Like, there's so much to wrap up in it.
Yeah,
and then but then with Two Towers, you've got the breaking of the Fellowship and them going on their separate journeys. It really is kind of like you really do kind of get an Empire Strikes Back kind of vibe from it. Ends on a bleak note.
Yeah,
it's that middle movie that always kind of tends to be the strong point in a trilogy.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I have now I feel like I have mixed feelings about Two Towers, only because when I was a kid, when it came out, I watched it so much. Like I think I have it memorized. Like I think really? I just have it like embedded in my head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes it like less fun to watch.
Sure.
So I usually go for Fellowship of the Ring or Return of the King. And I actually really like it's like almost like rambling aspect of Return of the King. Like it's kind of weird. It's kind of a weird movie because it has this kind of offbeat like plot line a little bit. Like there's that long scene where like Gandalf and the hobbits are just like giggling, and it's just it's kind of odd. Yeah. But I kind of like that aspect that it's like it's really different, that even in like as far as like end of trilogies go, because it goes on forever.
Right. It does. It
Yeah,
does. Yeah.
but I don't know. For some reason, I like that aspect. Like it makes it almost a strange movie in a way.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
interesting you brought that up because The Two Towers was the one that I watched by far the least when I was a kid.
Mm,
By far the least, and now it's the one
yeah.
that I
You
enjoy
go
the
back
most.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
Mhm.
maybe if I had watched Return of the King all the time, I would have switched
Yeah.
over.
I watch Return of the
They're
King
all
all the
good.
time. Yeah, they
Yeah.
are all good.
Hmm.
They're all great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I feel like Peter Jackson, sadly enough, like you felt like I mean he got like 11 Oscars for Return of the King.
Yeah.
He got all the Oscars.
Every single one he
So
was
for like
nominated for.
foreign. Well, I mean it's a New Zealand movie too, so I guess it could have got foreign film too. Well,
Yeah.
don't think it did though.
No, so that Academy Award until a few years ago used to be called Best Foreign Language Film.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so I think only non-English language films get nominated for it, and I think that's still the case, even though it's called Best
Right.
International Feature now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
but
It's true.
yeah, but
But
like it's cool because like now movies like Parasite can win Best International Feature and Best
yeah,
Picture,
that's
or
true.
Roma, won Best International Feature and it should have won Best Picture
Mm-hmm.
over Green Book, but
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Green Book.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
my least favorite Viggo Mortensen movie.
Oh yeah, I forgot he's in that.
I love Viggo
Yeah.
Mortensen, man.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
He's
And
very
yeah,
handsome, very
yeah.
very handsome. Yeah.
And a talented guy. I guess he like speaks like 5 or 6 languages or something.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
he's done Spanish speaking movies because he's from Argentina.
He is?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he's Argentine.
Really?
He's like Argentine American or something. Like his parents moved to Argentina. They were Americans. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he has a bunch of like Spanish movies like he did in Spain where he's like a Spanish like sword fighter and everyone says like he has an Argentine accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, he is 62 years old now. Holy smokes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. Didn't know he's that old.
Yeah, I mean,
He's
Lord of the Rings
good.
came out 20 years ago.
That's wild.
I
Yeah, I
know.
feel like Lord of the Rings was like a big that and Star Wars, of course, are like our big we're a big deal back in the day. Especially,
Yeah.
very, very inspirational for me. Yeah. To make
Yeah.
some movies, write some books. I'm all over it. I'm into it.
Yeah. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that I'm so glad that we got those great movies in our youth that
Yeah.
that continue to inspire us.
Who's your favorite character from LOTR? Is it Boromir?
I do like Boromir. But I'm everybody who knows me knows that like I'm really boring when it comes to favorite characters. Like my favorite character in Star Wars is Luke, and my favorite character in Harry Potter is Harry Potter.
Or Last of the Mohicans. That's an interesting one though. For Last
No,
of the Mohicans.
in last of the in like Pirates of the Caribbean though, I like Norrington. I like the officer. So I stray on that one, but no, I think my favorite LOTR character is probably Aragorn. So,
yeah,
yeah,
Aragorn's good.
Aragorn's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because a lot of I feel like a lot of Tolkien characters are very like two-dimensional or one-dimensional. They're like especially the book, like Aragorn is not they give him in the movie a lot more drama, like with Arwen and like he's like, I don't want to do it, like da da da. But in the book, there's none of that. I don't think there's any of that angst.
Right.
And in the movie, he's a better character because he's like, I don't want to be evil, don't want to be a ruler, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
His whole thing with Arwen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the book, he's just like, I'm a hero. I'm the king.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm
pretty sure. I haven't read the book since I was like 11. So I'm
Yeah.
not. I need to brush up.
Yeah.
Reread it.
Yeah. I'm yeah, the race of men in Lord of the Rings, all pretty interesting characters. But I like the hobbits too now. Like
Really, the
I
movies?
do. No, not the
Nice.
movies, like the hobbit characters.
Oh yeah.
Like
Oh, nice.
like
Pippin,
Frodo and Sam and Merry and
Meriadoc,
Pippin, Meriadoc and Peregrine.
Meriwether. Can't
Yeah.
remember his full name.
Meriadoc.
Meriadoc.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. They're such little scoundrels
I know.
in the beginning, the first
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
lighting off fireworks.
Yeah, causing trouble everywhere. But they're so much more they're much smarter in the books. Like I feel like them
Yeah.
and Gimli kind of got a bad rap in the movies.
Mm. Yeah, they don't do as much. They're just like, wait
Yeah.
up, I'm coming.
Although I do like Gimli. Gimli's fun.
I think Gimli was like my favorite when I was a kid and playing all the video games and loving Lord of the Rings. Gimli was my fave.
Yeah, so when I was a kid, and I was really into Lord of the Rings and Indiana Jones, John Rhys Davies was just like my favorite. He just had such an energy, you know.
He's great.
Indy.
Yeah, he's very up.
Yeah, he's so up.
He seems like a very charming man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Indy. Bad dates.
Right. Yeah. And every time I eat dates now, I'm terrified. I'm just like,
you know who's somebody who seemed really cool now that he's gone, rest in peace, is Christopher Lee.
oh, I know.
What a cool guy.
What a career.
Cool. What a great life. Jeez.
You know, he was a huge screen presence.
Definitely.
Of course, and going back to like horror movies in the 50s and 60s, and then into
I've been watching a lot of those lately. Actually, yeah.
Have you seen his Dracula?
I haven't finished it, but I was watching a lot of his like Hammer horror film productions.
Yep.
Yeah. I didn't know about those until like a month ago, and I've been getting sucked in. They're so good. They're so good. Oh my god.
Yeah, they are cool.
Yeah.
He was like 6'6". He's a huge guy.
Crazy stuff about him. He was like basically like an inglorious bastard in World War II. Like he was like a spy. Wow. And was like behind German enemy lines during World War II, and like apparently a lot of his stuff that he did is like classified. And then when he left, he became an actor, and apparently he was like a Tolkien expert when Lord of the Rings happened, and like he would like I remember hearing like he would like quiz Peter Jackson and like be like, "This is wrong, like you're doing it wrong." And he also made a metal album about Charlemagne, like after Lord of the Rings, like when he was super old.
That's so cool.
Yeah, he just lived like a cool life. Yeah, it's amazing. And he's in The Wicker Man.
Yeah, he was also one of the best James Bond villains, the man with the golden gun.
That's right,
Francisco Scaramanga.
Oh, I totally forgot about that. That's right. He was a Bond villain.
And I quite like Roger Moore Bond movies. So.
Yeah, man. So. Yeah, Roger Moore is what's the one in San Francisco?
That is A View to a Kill.
Yeah, A View to a Kill is amazing.
Which a lot of people think is the worst James Bond movie, but those people are
might be the best.
Those people are wrong.
That fire truck chase scene.
A View
amazing.
To a Kill. Okay, first of all, the song is a bop.
Yeah.
The
Banger.
opening song is
by Duran Duran.
Yeah. Yep. And you've got Christopher Walken as a Bond villain. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's her name? The model.
Yes, I know. Grace Jones.
Grace Jones. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one. I was pleasantly surprised by how awesome that movie was.
Yeah.
The scene where they're like fighting in that mansion and there's like a snake or whatever. Like there's something random in that scene that's hilarious. Can't remember.
Mhm.
Yeah. Definitely worth one checking out. Well, it's good to be back. It's good to be doing movie mood again. It's been a long hiatus. I feel like this is the new season we're starting.
Yeah, season 10.
Season 10
Yep.
of Movie Mood.
Yep.
Well, cool. I think
We're
that
back, baby.
that wraps it up.
Yeah.
For our Kurosawa discussion and our back in movie theaters. Are there any movies you're super excited to see come to theaters?
I am excited to see Steven Spielberg's West Side Story.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah. What about you?
I'm excited to see a movie called Zola on Monday. That looks really cool. I want to see the new James Bond whenever that comes out.
Never gonna
I think
happen.
it's in fall, and then by that time there'll be another thing that happens, and we'll never see it. So
Yep.
that's never gonna happen.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm excited to. I'll just go to whatever's playing. Fast and Furious 9. That'd be cool.
Are you going to see it?
I think so. Yeah.
Nice. Enjoy.
Yeah. Well, I think that wraps up our this episode of Movie Mood. We will see you guys next time.